Hi, I'm Matt, the lead vehicle artist at Rivet Games, and today I'm going to take a look at the ScotRail Class 170 cab and a bit of our creation process. As normal, we try to get surveys of all our vehicles, and luckily with this one, it's quite near to where we all work, and we were able to contact ScotRail, and they gave us access to one of their trains. What we normally do is with all our surveys is we'll come in and we'll take as many pictures as we can using rulers and measurements and all sorts of things to try and make sure that we get as much information from the shoot as possible. We try and get images with all the lights on, all the buttons, different angles, so that we can kind of figure out the space and how we're gonna reconstruct the asset, whether it's the exterior or the cab or other parts of the train. Try and get as much information as we can. One of the things you'll see is we have a lot of very similar images, and that's because we wanted to get as much overlap in all our pictures because we wanted to use a new technique called photogrammetry. What this allows us to do is take all our reference that we get for particular areas of the train and put it into a software which then basically tries to figure out where in space all those images were taken and then reconstruct a point cloud, which then allows us to get a 3D model out. And the reason why we wanted to do this was it, one, allows us to make things a little bit quicker, but the main thing is it gives us a lot more accuracy in what we're doing and takes a lot of the guesswork out of all the reference that we have. Once we've gotten those images back from our survey, we'll bring them into a piece of software like this. You'll see little cameras around here that line up to all of our reference. This allows the software to do is basically project points into those images, and it figures out the 3D depth. What the software can then do is it can basically uses the photos to kind of bring it through a lot of the texture details and just the surfacing so that we can actually see what those surfaces look like. So when we export our point cloud into our normal 3D software, it will look something like this. And it lets us see exactly where all the buttons and the relationship there is to all of them in a very accurate way. You can even see here that we have like the ruler in there so that we can scale this model up to exactly where it needs to be. We can orientate it correctly inside like the 3D world where the train where it would be in the train. What we're able to do with these is we can actually see the angles of desks and walls. If you'll notice, this wall is not a straight wall. It's at it curved in as an angle, and it follows the outer shape of the train. And a lot of these kind of things are quite hard for us to figure out when we just have pictures. And we spend a lot longer trying to model like even basic things because of that lack of depth that we have. But with something like this, it really takes out all of that guesswork, and we know when we're putting a surface down that it's at the correct orientation and depth and space. And along with that, like where all the buttons or kind of controls will be, is that they are laid out basically to almost a millimeter accuracy in these areas that we do capture this reference. So along with using this new tech with the photogrammetry, what we also do is our standard kind of workflow. Using the exterior as the bounds, we blocked in the back wall, kind of roughly where the desk would be, and the kind of left and right walls. As the project goes along, obviously a lot more detail gets added in, a lot more kind of parts of the cab get fleshed out. So this is the cab at quite a bit later stage, not quite finished yet, but still there's a lot of detail that's been added in. We can just see how much has been kind of blocked in and kind of put in, but there's still certain areas like the ceiling's still not finished, and some of the kind of the back wall is needing detailing, and seats are missing and things like that. What this is at this point is it's quite accurate to the photogrammetry. So if I bring the photogrammetry in, what you can see is it's laid on top of where the desk is. So we've basically used that photogrammetry to trace and build over where all those controls are, so that we can get a really accurate kind of representation of the final model using that photogrammetry. So this is what really helps us take our work to the next level. This is at a point where the modeling has been fully detailed out. All the kind of bolts and screws and little labels and small details have been added in. At this point, we've also UV mapped the entire cab, which obviously allows us to go in and paint and place down textures and bring everything to life and give it the materials and surfacing that it needs to look accurate to the cab in the real life. This area isn't conducive to being done with photogrammetry because a lot of the surface is reflective, and it's really hard for the software to figure out the 3D shape. It did help a lot having that photogrammetry, and it allowed us to get this quite accurate. but we still had to use a lot of our normal old techniques to create this surface and make sure that we got that accurate and looking like the reference. This cab has a lot of variants, and the variant that we got to look around and take pictures of at ScotRail was a different one to the one we wanted to create. So what you'll see in this cab can be different to a lot of the other 170s that are out there. One of the things that we've added into this cab is this monitor, along with the monitor over here. And you'll also find a number of buttons, and kind of just general layout of the controls can be different between different 170s. We spent a lot of time just making sure that this was an authentic ScotRail cab and matched exactly how we wanted it to look, and how it is in real life. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Class 170 cab. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more from Rivet Games.